Court. I want to raise with the Taoiseach the case of Nadeem Hussain, who's on his 7th day of hunger strike. He's living in Cork, where the Taoiseach himself comes from. And he's on hunger strike because the International Protection Appeal Tribunal has affirmed a recommendation of the International Protection Officer that he should be refused a declaration as a refugee, which obviously has the consequences of threatening him with deportation. He's seeking for the right to remain here as a refugee. And as he said to breakingnews.ie, he said, if I go back to India, that's where he's from, he's a Muslim from India, if I go back to India, I'll be killed. And there's reason for him to believe that, because both of his parents were killed in 2018, and he came here in the context of that. And they were killed in the context of anti-Muslim violence, which unfortunately is now commonplace in India, and which is whipped up by the chauvinist Modi regime. Ironically, one of the reasons he's been refused is because he cannot get written confirmation from the Indian police of the circumstances by which his parents died. But given the role of the state in India in anti-Muslim violence, that is hardly surprising. So there's kind of two issues here. One is the immediate issue of the hunger strike and the danger to his health and life that he is now in. And I'm appealing to the government to reach out to Nadeem, to make a phone call to him today and to promise to take seriously his case. And then the second issue, of course, is his right to remain here as a refugee. Given the contribution he's made here, he worked as a security in hospitals, and given the threat that he faces in India.
In respect of Nadeem Hussain, I would ask that he would cease the hunger strike. I don't think he needs to continue with it. I do understand the issues in terms of he has been refused. His application has not been successful. However, there are other measures that are open to the department, to the minister, and to officials in terms of leave to remain, for example. These are issues that I understand are being pursued and can be decided upon. So a hunger strike can cause damage and irreparable repair. So I would sincerely ask him to come off the hunger strike. I am aware of the case and what has happened to his parents, and that he's gone through a very traumatic time. Again, I haven't read the entirety of the case background, but I do take, I do take the fact that someone's on hunger strike very seriously. I do think we should take every effort we can to try and help that person in the situation that they find themselves in. In terms of the fishing industry, or in terms of the work permit system, the report that Deputy Barry referenced, I think it's, first of all, there can be no place for exploitation of workers in any industry, and there certainly can be no place for exploitation of workers in the fishing industry. And I have said repeatedly and consistently in this House, and I've said it to members in the House, that it's extremely important that workers in the fishing industry are protected, are well looked after. And we've had too many incidents over the last number of years where cases have arisen where clearly the rights of workers were not upheld, or even basic documentation couldn't be provided or secured in respect of some workers on fishing boats, particularly where accidents happened or where rescues took place. Some workers were discovered not to have any documentation at all, and that lends itself to significant potential abuse of such workers. And the issue around tying of the work permit to a boat, I mean, the work permits, generally speaking, are applied by employers, or historically have been. But I do think we would take on board that report and its conclusions, and I'll engage with the department and with the fishing industry and the minister involved in that, because it's going through a traumatic period at the moment, the fishing industry, and this is something it can't afford to allow happen within the sector, and it needs to be stamped out. Deputy O'Callaghan raised the issue of safeguarding. I think it's a very substantive issue you've raised as to whether we should pass legislation to say to the Gardaí, pass on information that you have. That opens up a whole new area. I think we need a regulatory framework governing any organisation that is established in an area like homelessness. We do it for a whole range of other activities. I think we should use the tried and trusted organisations now that are involved in homelessness, that have an established relationship with local authorities and with government. The days are gone now when somebody can declare themselves to be a homeless charity. And there's too much of that going on. People, some well-meaning people do it, but it just creates difficulties and challenges. Because a lot of research, the Simons of this world and Focus Group Ireland and Vincent de Paul and other organisations who have long experience in homelessness have built up a lot of expertise. They've done a lot of research. They work collaboratively internationally. It's that informed opinion that we need to inform policy on housing. And there's a variety of other organisations I haven't mentioned who do likewise.
Thank you, Taoiseach.
Sorry.
Okay.